Forgive the noise in the background, I'm in my kitchen. Here is my father's Dell Optiplex 755. I'm going to be taking over it, and since I'm going to be taking over it, I just want to do a general cleaning of the thing, reapply thermal paste, and give a general overview of what this thing has to offer. The lettering is pretty hard to see, but this is my original quad core for my original desktop I got way back like 06 or 07. So that shows how old the components in this computer is. But since this is my secondary machine and I want something that's stable, and I know Dell office grades like this are stable even to this day, I don't really care for processing grunt. Would I like to have a computer as a secondary that has more power than this? Yes. Do I have one? Yes, but I prefer these type of cases. I've always liked the way Dell Office Grade looks. So with that said, I guess the next thing to do is show the GPU I'm using. My good old trusty 750 Ti. It's older than sin, but it still works. So that's GPU. My cat chooses the wrong time to start eating, so there's going to be occasional crunching sounds throughout this video, and that's why. So with that said, the heatsink is, well, it's just a big chunk of aluminum. Now this does do the job, but I still want to have a proper heatsink for my quad core. Even though my father has been using this computer in this configuration for, I want to say, like 3 years now. Since I'm now taking ownership of this computer, I want to find a upgrade to this heatsink here. And I know that you can get upgrades for this particular computer. I've seen them before off eBay and whatnot. I just gotta make sure the heatsink I get can fit inside the shroud right here. With the way they designed this thing, you can pop in a new shroud in it, or not a new shroud, a new heatsink, and just screw it down into this little shroud here. And this little shroud just pivots on these little pieces here that are these little guys right here, and the two screws right here button down on that post and that post right there. So all I gotta do now is find a adequate heatsink off of eBay to replace this one. This one will do the job, but my quad core is going to run a little hot. Alright, I think I found something that should more or less fit the bill. Reason being is that if I go to the comments here, you can see someone bought this exact same cooler for a Dell Optiplex desktop tower, which is what this thing is. And if I Google search it, go away, Google. I don't want your stupid notifications. It more or less looks exactly the same. And if I go to where the motherboard's CPU placement is on here, it's basically exactly the same. Now, of course, the actual form factor is smaller. I got this right here, actually, not this. But, it should theoretically work. Alright, found one off eBay. I believe my father is going to be ordering it for me soon. So with that said, I'm going to now put the desktop back together again and get it all up and running because, like I said, it's going to become my secondary machine. So I'll come back when I get this thing all set up. Oh yeah, one more thing, the sound card. This also was originally my father's, but since he never used it, I get to now use it. I want to use it in my N1301 case, but the motherboard I got is just too small for this. So if I can get everything up and running with that N1301, or not my N1301, but my other desktop, I'll probably eventually get myself a new motherboard. That way so I can facilitate both the video card and this sound card. But for the time being, it's going back into Dell Optiplex. For the thermal paste I'm going to be using, for those that are interested, I'm going to be using the Cooler Master stuff that came with my Cooler Master Black cooler because my Noctua tube is getting very low and I need to save that thermal paste for my Ryzen 5 5600G that comes in supposedly tomorrow. But this should do the job just fine, and hopefully when I get this, hopefully when I get the upgraded cooler and whatnot, I'll have some better thermal paste. But for right now, I'm going to be using this. Well, this hurts. It's very ghetto, but it works. Now the reason I'm doing that is because I'm planning on putting 2 drives down here. I got one hard drive caddy, but I gotta find another one. So for right now, I'm just gonna have 1 drive here and 1 drive here. And of course, since I have 2 plugs here, I'll be able to add another one in, and I'll be able to route another SATA cable over here whenever I find a new hard drive caddy. And that thing right there is quite annoying. Alright, got everything all buttoned up and ready to go. Now when that cooler comes in, most likely what I'll have to do is I'll have to cut the top off because it's meant for a smaller form factor than this. But it should theoretically still work. I'll just have to make a custom little duct out of a foam board, that way so I can redirect the air into the actual heatsink and whatnot. So next thing to do is install Windows 7 on this thing. This thing is so old that yes, it can run Windows 10, but for something like this, I would rather use Windows 7. So I'm going to get the side panel back on, get this thing set up in my room, and come back. Alright, got the era appropriate monitor. And of course there's the Dell, so alright, no errors, no nothing, boots up completely fine. And it goes into automatic Windows repair. So yeah, I gotta go and tell it to boot into the CD here, so I'll be right back. One thing I'm going to do first is make sure it's set to, I believe, Apache for Windows 7. It's been a long time since I messed with something this old. I gotta make sure it's all properly set up for Windows 7 and not Windows 10. Something about this Dell BIOS and my Walmart keyboard don't play nice. Instead of highlighting each individual option when I press the down key or up key, it just scrolls all the way down to like the 20th option. So that's annoying. But it seems to be booting from the CD drive, so I think I'm good to go. Alright, got both drives properly formatted and ready to go. And it's making a weird noise. Good old Dell. Never stop being Dell. The one thing I'm going to be really interested in is seeing how my quad core handles a SSD. I don't think I ever gave this my processor a actual SSD. It's always been working with hard drives. Now for a while this has been my father's computer for like 3 or 4 years, but he barely uses it, and well, it was never in my possession up until recently, so it's going to be real interesting to see how this computer handles when it comes to actual day-to-day tasks, considering it's a quad core from 2006. But since I'm using Windows 7 instead of Windows 10, it's going to be really speedy. But it's just going to take a while to install because it's going from a CD drive to SSD and whatnot. But it seems to be going by without a hitch. So I will come back when necessary. Alright, I'm now at the desktop. So naturally the next thing to do is run Windows updates and make sure everything is up to date. Obviously, since I'm using a CD-based copy of Windows 7, it is far out of date. Now watch what happens when I go to check for an update. I get this error every single time. I, to this day, still have no idea what Microsoft did to the update servers for Windows 7, but they managed to fudge it up for CD-based copies of Windows 7, because as you see, I have a legitimate copy, and I want to use this as legitimately as possible, but I can't update it. Originally, the way to bypass this was to, let's be fair, torrent a more recent build of Windows 7, but I actually found a solution to get past this issue, so give me a second. Oh yeah, another thing, the hard drive I'm using, it hums whenever it's spooling up. The only way to resolve it is to do this, and that can get annoying real fast. So I'm actually going to disconnect that hard drive. So to resolve this issue, I have to go to this site right here, and we'll get to this page here. Scroll down, and we have the answer. We gotta download all this and install them one at a time. Doing that will get past this annoying error and allow me to get Windows 7 all up to date. So I'm going to download all this crap, and I'm going to install all this crap and come back. Also, it's now very quiet. What's going to happen now is that when I reboot this thing, the BIOS is going to freak out because no hard drive connected. That's the one thing I don't like about Dell Office grades, is that if you don't have everything connected up as it should be, it freaks out whenever you reboot it, which is really fucking annoying. And of course, when I restarted Dell Optiplex to change a few settings before installing those updates, it bitched at me because I disconnected that drive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shut it down, and I'm going to connect this drive because this one's quieter. It's not that big of storage compared to the 600, but I still want to have extra storage in that 600 gig drive. When that thing spools up, it just vibrates throughout the whole case, and it's really annoying. So this one here should be a lot more quieter. Alright, did the swap. Let's see what happens. Took a little while to boot up. But it's booting up completely fine. The joys of Dell Office grades. They are kind of retarded. Alright, with those 4 updates installed, I should now be able to go and fully update this computer. And it's going to take a little while, so I'll come back when it pops something up. Alright, and it found a good chunk of the updates. Now what's going to happen is I'm going to have to hide like maybe 8 updates, because for some reason or another there's a certain set of updates that just basically brick Windows 7 in an infinite failed update loop. And eventually it goes away, but it'll keep happening until I hide those updates. But other than those few updates that kind of brick Windows 7, it'll go by without a hitch. But this is, of course, the first time I've done this, so I know exactly what updates I need to hide. So I'm going to update the computer and come back when everything is done. Alright, so it took a little while, but didn't take as long as I thought. And everything's now up to date. One thing I had issues with was NVIDIA drivers. For some reason or another, whenever I tried to download through Microsoft Edge, it flagged it as malice. So I had to go and download through Internet Explorer, because even though I downloaded through Microsoft Edge, it would 7-zip error out on me for some dumb reason. But luckily I was able to get another version or get the exact same download, but through Internet Explorer. And of course Internet Explorer downloaded it properly as it should, and I was able to run it. And I was able to install drivers as I need to. And if I go to here and here, you can see I get this. I don't know why GeForce Experience isn't showing up. I know I installed it. Sorry about the autofocus. There it is. I need to still log in and whatnot, but generally speaking, the drivers are installed and the computer is in full working order now. And as of right now, there are no updates I need to install. The updates that normally brick actually seem to have installed without an issue. So with that said, when it comes to this Dell Optiplex, I think I'm more or less done. The one thing I do want to see is what the temperatures are for the poor little quad core. So I'm going to download core temp and take a look. The temperatures are actually fairly fine for what is essentially an aluminum heatsink. I'm very impressed actually. I might just keep it as is because these are fantastic temperatures for what my poor little quad core is. So I'm just going to monitor the temperatures for a while and make a decision. But it looks like I might not be upgrading the cooler because this one does the job just fine. Not really much help on what particular quad core I got, but it's a quad core. I gotta refresh the Windows Experience Index, but yeah. Well, the score definitely went up, and the bottleneck is the quad core processor, as I thought. Again, it's from 2006. So I don't expect much from this Dell Optiplex, let alone the fact that I'm running a 750 Ti. If I can play Genshin Impact on this thing, I'll be surprised. Alright, so I decided to download Genshin Impact before I go to bed and monitor the temperatures of the processor. One of the cores went to 124, and when it does that, the fan kicks in a little higher and it makes a nice little vibration noise. I think I know exactly why the cause of that is, and it's due to there's no actual foam gasket between the fan shroud and the CPU shroud. And normally that low foam gasket would go and press against the two parts and basically reduce the vibration. So I probably need to find some type of rubber gasket to fix that issue, or mainly do some type of brace system that actually connects the fan shroud to the actual case and whatnot. That way, so any vibration goes to either the case or the fan shroud, because I can definitely feel the case vibrating. And the noise you heard is this thing right here. I'm getting it ready to go for my father. Well, one thing's certain, having this old ass quad core really goes to show how fast processors have gotten these days. It's taking forever. And this is with an SSD. It seems to be able to run it fairly fine. I'm very impressed. Now, obviously, I'm not in the actual game, but usually just this area here, which is the start area or whatever the hell it's called, it's usually a good way to see if whatever computer you're using can actually handle it. And it seems to be able to handle it just fine, so I'm going to log into my secondary account and see what the actual gameplay is like. One thing's certain, that poor little processor really struggles to load games quick, even with an SSD. So I'm not getting a full 60 FPS, but this is more than playable. Again, I'm asking a quad core from 2005 to play this game. Then again, I am also using a 750 Ti. Granted, 750 Ti is pretty stinking old in its own right. And yet I'm getting very, very reasonable and playable frame rate for this game. So with that said, let me land. When it comes to the actual settings I'm using, let's see. Everything more or less set to high. This is more than playable. Especially for what is essentially my secondary account that I really don't care much about and don't really get on that often. This is more than playable. At least now I have a way to maintain this account and actually at least log in every single day to do stuff. Like the little daily 4 quest things you gotta do when you log in. So yeah, I think when it comes to this video on this Optiplex, I think I'm pretty much done. Also, let's see what the temperatures are like. Okay, yeah, it definitely does get a little toasty when it's playing a game, but it doesn't go as hot as I initially thought it would be. I thought it would get to like 150, but it seems to be maintaining at 130. So let's see what Core Clock says when it comes to max temp. Max TDP. Maximum temperature went to 140, or nearly 140. Again, this is fairly reasonable for a aluminum heatsink. So I'm actually going to keep using that aluminum heatsink because it seems to be able to maintain my quad-core processor at temperature and whatnot. The only other thing I need to do is install the drivers for the sound card, but I'll do that later.